Anjikuni in Nunavut Province, Canada is the most remote, desolate, and coldest area of North America. By the lake shore, the Inuit tribe had long ago established a small village, with people living in huts. Connected to the Kazan River, with abundant salmon and northern pike resources. For the Inuit, Lake Anjikuni was a fertile, prosperous land that helped stabilize their lives. In return, the Inuit villagers enriched this land with their distinctive cultural identity. And mysterious stories about spirits or monsters, the most famous of which is the tale of the most fearsome man-eating monster in North America, the Wendigo. The terrifying night. Life would have continued on. The Inuit would still be living there today if not for the sudden event where the entire village of 2,000 people mysteriously disappeared in just one cold winter night in 1930. The person who discovered this disappearance was a fur trapper named Joe LaBelle. Previously, Joe had visited many times because the Inuit were extremely friendly, gentle people who always welcomed passers-by and offered them shelter for the night. Like many other times, on a day in November 1930, while trying to traverse the cold snow towards the familiar Anjikuni village to find a place to spend the night. But as he approached, Joe felt something strange. The village was unusually quiet, with no barking dogs, no children playing, and no cheerful adult conversations. Entering the first house, Joe LaBelle found no one. Turning to the next house was the same. 2 houses, 3 houses, then 5 houses. Nowhere was there any sign of people. Horrified, he ran frantically between the houses, continuously shouting everyone's names. But Joe only received a hopeless, cold silence in response. All 2,000 people in the village had vanished without a trace, from humans to animals. When he calmed down, Joe discovered in one house that wood was still burning in the stove, and a pot of soup hanging beside it was still boiling vigorously. And on the chairs in the living room, 2 jackets were being sewn, with needles still stuck in them. In the storage room, he found clothes and dried food completely intact. Joe was certain this wasn't an evacuation. He suspected something truly terrible had happened to the Inuit. Because no matter how rushed, these were 2 things a person couldn't leave behind when going outside in such cold winter. After that, Joe spotted smoke rising from afar in the forest. He desperately ran there hoping to find someone. But in the end, he only found a dying fire with an abandoned cooking pot. He considered himself an experienced trader accustomed to the transient life in remote places. But in the middle of winter, the incident still made Joe break out in a cold sweat from fear. Exhausted and terrified, Joe decided to head toward a telegraph station several kilometers away. When he arrived, he only managed to stammer a few words to the telegraph operator before fainting. Enough for this person to understand the problem and notify the police. The next day, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police were present at the village. On the way, the police met a hunter, Armand, Lauren and his 2 sons. They asked Lauren if he had noticed any unusual events happening in the area recently. Lauren said that a few days earlier, he saw a strange shimmering object in the sky. According to Lauren's description, the object hovering in midair could change shape and it was heading toward Lake Anjikuni. Upon arrival, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police made some new discoveries. In the village cemetery, they found empty graves with no remains of the dead. Meanwhile, violating the resting place of the deceased was taboo for the Inuit. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police didn't believe this was caused by animals because the ground was frozen and grave excavation would require tools. The police continued to conduct more thorough investigations, expanding the search for the missing villagers. But after all, the investigation only made the mystery more mysterious. The only thing the police discovered was a pack of dogs that had starved and were buried dozens of meters deep in snow outside the village. However, the strange thing was that near the dog hut was a storage hut full of food. So why did they starve to death when the villagers had disappeared less than a day before? One hypothesis suggested that perhaps the villagers had disappeared about 1 to 2 months earlier. What Joe discovered was created by another entity and could very likely be aliens. Because the events were too mysterious, newspapers at the time rushed to report about the Cheetah village by Lake Anjikuni, causing the story to spread widely, even beyond the continent. But because of concerns that this could cause social panic, the Canadian government immediately censored all related information in the press. They denied what had happened, saying this was just a tall tale made up by a fur trader friend of Joe's during a drunken occasion. Nevertheless, the truth is that many people, especially traders, had known about the existence of Anjikuni village. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police concluded that, given the nomadic nature of the Inuit, they might have migrated elsewhere, abandoning the village. However, the police noted that them leaving behind weapons, shelter, food, and supplies was truly strange. From then on, many hypotheses were circulated among people. Some people believed they were attacked, killed, and then had their bodies hidden or were kidnapped by some group. Best description, this couldn't. Mr. Eskimo's property here remained intact, completely untouched by looting. Many who believe in supernatural forces say that the Wendigo monster caused the incident, or that the sky god, master of animals in Inuit legend, took them away. Others think aliens came here and abducted the villagers. Some witnesses claim to have seen strange beings of light appearing over Lake Anjikuni at the time the villagers disappeared. Therefore, they believe it's very likely that all the Inuit here were taken by aliens who landed in a UFO. There are even opinions that vampires were the culprits of this event. However, all are just speculations without any evidence. What was found at the scene refutes all those hypotheses. There are also rumors that perhaps the villagers contracted some disease and gathered together to jump into a nearby river to commit suicide. They didn't need to bring anything to the afterlife, so everything in their homes remained intact. This hypothesis initially seems reasonable, but what about the livestock? Would they have made the animals die with them? Leading such a large herd of livestock to the river, why would that leave no traces? What disaster befell the villagers? Researchers have proposed many hypotheses about the perpetrators, including extraterrestrial beings and even vampires. To this day, no clues or traces of the missing Inuit have been discovered. And the land by Lake Anjikuni remains a haunting mystery to many researchers. For nearly a century, the dead village of Anjikuni has remained a topic shrouded in mystery. As time passes, factual information and fiction have become so mixed that people can no longer distinguish between real and fake news. Researchers seem helpless because the incident happened long ago, and no traces or evidence remain. The only witness himself, fur trader Joe LaBelle, passed away long ago. The story of the vanished village by Lake Anjikuni has now become a legend told during outdoor camping trips, especially under starry night skies in the wild northern forests of Canada.